do is propose amendments. Okay, well, the proposed amendments can have a profound impact on the Constitution, right? And it's still up to the states. Well, they'll say the states will, 3/4 of the states will never do anything unreasonable. Well, really?
Really, I see unreasonable things passing every day.
16th, 17th Amendments, and 18th Amendments were passed 100 years ago. And those were all unreasonable, but they were passed. The 17th Amendment took an enormous amount of power away from state legislators.
And say what they are, because I'm sure not everybody knows what they are.
17th Amendment gave general elections to the senators. So you now go and vote.
Instead of they were appointed by the state
They were
government.
voted by the state legislators.
Right.
So they took, and so senators were basically ambassadors from the states' capitals to Congress. So that was and in fact, there was a number of resolutions calling for an Article 5 for the purpose of getting that amendment passed, and they were just one or two shy, and that's when Congress said, okay, we'll go ahead and pass the amendment. The states will probably not go for it anyway, you see, and they did. So there's evidence, there's proof right there. Now, New Hampshire, you've had a number of calls over the years, balanced budget amendment. Now, the balanced budget amendment, what conservative would be against that?
Well, although, okay, if you say it sounds good, balance the budget. Well, you know how they can balance the budget? We'll just tax everybody,
That's right.
empty their bank accounts and get all that money. That'll balance the budget. How
Right.
many trillions of dollars in debt are we now?
That's right. So a balanced budget, if it has to be a constitutional budget. That's the kind of budget. We have to have some serious cuts in the size of the government before you can have a balanced budget.
Nobody wants to cut because everybody wants free. You know, gimme.
So it sounds very appealing. Term limits is another thing. Very appealing. Wow, you know, we have all these rotten people in Congress and all these rotten people, but not my guy's not rotten, but everybody else is rotten. And we'll have an amendment, we'll limit, and that will save our republic. Well, if we're so desperately need to be saved from, we need term limits, it's still going to be a long time before that. Even if we did have a convention, it's going to be a while before that will kick in. Mm-hmm. So it's probably going to be another 8 to 10 years, at the very least, right?
No, we do have another call for a convention.
An Article 5 convention.
Article 5 convention.
Well, your state already has.
Yes.
We were able to rescind all of them in 2010, and they got one passed in 2012. There's been a few. Last year there was several resolutions that came up. They were either tabled or voted down. Two of the biggest groups, at least pushing this, one-issue groups, a group called Wolfpack, which is a very left-wing group. And in fact, they claim to be founded in Wall Street during the Wall Street protest. You know, Occupy Wall Street. That's their background. The man who founded it, Cenk Uygur, is a so-called progressive. He's originally from Turkey. I refer to him as a Holocaust denier. He says that the Turks never killed the Armenians.
Oh, my father helped liberate the camps. The Holocaust happened. And
no, we're talking about in Turkey.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. That's another thing that most people have never heard of. So he gets away with that. He can get away with that. He's got a YouTube channel, a news story. The Young Turks is the name of his, and of course that's sort of a mocking. The Young Turks were the progressives in Turkey that were going to bring Turkey into the 20th century, and they were the ones involved in genocide. But I don't want to digress too much. But he's a so-called progressive socialist, and their goal is to end this notion of corporate personhood, which sounds very noble. Because no one likes big corporations.
Yes.
But there are a lot of small entities like little churches that are corporations. And they don't like a decision that came out in 2010 where an entity was doing documentaries on Hillary Clinton, sort of promoting what she was about. And they thought, well, they have no right. But a group of people get together, form a corporation, and raise money for a certain purpose. That's no problem. That shouldn't be an issue. But it's more than that. They want to have federal or tax support of elections because big money is in politics. But it's interesting, too, even big money doesn't always win. In fact, one of their big champions is a Harvard professor. I would refer to him as an anti-Christian bigot because he likes to mock Jesus in videos. You can go online and see. Go on YouTube and put Larry Lessig mocking Christianity.
That guy.
Yeah. He formed something called Mayday PAC.
Was he at that Senate hearing here in New Hampshire?
I don't believe so.
No, there was somebody else with another name that I've heard you.
It was Mark Meckler.
That's the one.
Yeah. No, I have not seen Larry Lessig in any hearings, although he was at a hearing in Massachusetts a few years ago. Massachusetts did not pass their Wolfpack resolution, even in liberal
Wolfpack
Massachusetts.
passed in New Hampshire.
And that's fascinating because it passed in the New Hampshire House, the Republican House. But they're doing an incredible PR campaign. They get a lot of money.
Yes, they do.
Unless Lessig wants to get big money in our politics, he forms a PAC, a super PAC, and he gave, when I say gave, you don't give the money to the candidate, but you put money towards to go after their opponent, you see. So a super PAC over $2 million was spent, and they were promoting Jim Rubens, who is now running for the Senate. And Jim Rubens was a big supporter of the Wolfpack resolution.
Yep.
I mean, big time.
He's running for Congress now.
He's running for the Senate.
Oh,
yeah.
Senate.
And it seems to be a lot of their testimony is trying to trash and destroy the reputations of the people
They're
who oppose
probably going to put out hit pieces on me because I've always been fighting Article 5. And I blew it last year. I tried to table the resolution, the bill for calling for an Article 5. And our Speaker Sean Jasper, he's a stickler for protocol. You do everything the way you're supposed to. I said, I'd like to table the amendment. I'd like to speak to my motion. He said, well, you can't speak to the motion. And I was caught off guard. So I couldn't speak to the motion, but I could give a parliamentary inquiry, which it has to be done just right. The wording, Mr. Speaker, if I know that blah blah blah, if I further know, would I then press the green button or red button? Yeah. And I was just caught off guard, and I was looking, for someone to come and help. And there was a member of his leadership team who does not want an Article 5 convention, who came over and said, "Do you want me to say something?" I went, "Yeah, because you're a better speaker than I am." But most of his leadership team is for this Article 5 convention, and I think they've been taken in by that PR, public relations with all their money behind it, backing them to convince them that we really need this. And
the other group is a group called Convention of States.
Yes,
that's the so-called conservative group. But I challenge the viewers who are interested in this issue. Go to YouTube and put Mark Meckler running away from the media. Look at a group called Living Room Conversations. Mark Meckler is involved with a group called livingroomconversations.org. They're very proud. You'll see a video with Van Jones and Mark Meckler. You'll see Mark Meckler hobnobbing with Joanne Blades of the Soros group MoveOn.org.
Okay, George Soros. Some people, we know these names. Not everybody knows who George Soros is.
Well, Soros is a far-left multi-billionaire, Rosie, from Hungary originally, and he is one of the sugar daddies of most of the far left.
All right. Now, he was a disciple, is that the right word, of Saul Alinsky?
Oh, I don't know if he was offhand. Hillary Clinton was the disciple of Saul Alinsky. Now, I can't say
Saul Alinsky has, I heard Ben Carson talking about this, and I've actually talked about it on my
community
show as
activism,
well.
community
right. Well, he
organizers.
Had this pamphlet that it's put out by Saul Alinsky, and the first page, it's dedicated to Lucifer.
Oh, Rules for Radicals is the name of the book.
Rules for Radicals.
Yeah.
Dedicated to Lucifer. That's the devil.
That's right. He said the first protester. Yeah.
Yeah,
I've read the book. Yeah,
I have it, and I've showed it on my show before. But Hillary Clinton is a disciple of Saul Alinsky.
Well, Hillary she worked with Alinsky personally. Obama was trained by Alinsky types, but he himself didn't know him. He was only probably 8 or 9, maybe not even, I don't know, probably 5 or 6. Alinsky died, I think, 71, 72. But getting back to the Article 5, Convention of States, they're also very active. They have lots of money, and it's a one issue. Now they get a full-time guy in the Northeast who a few years ago was labeling me a paid out-of-state operative when I was influencing people in Maine. Because we have a membership base in Maine, that's part of my territory. Now that he's a paid operative, out-of-state operative, I guess it's okay because he's pushing Article 5. But they did something pretty nasty this past February.
To Kevin Avard, Senator Kevin Avard?
And us.
Oh.
They accused us of bribery.
Oh.
In an email, they said that the John Birch Society, Kevin Avard, has changed his position on their Article 5 due to a donation he got from the John Birch Society.
You don't give donations.
Well, we don't give donations, and it was a friend of mine who got the email on official Convention of States template, and I got a hold of Kevin, and they had this very weak apology, and they didn't apologize to the good men and women of the John Birch Society. I guess because we're supposed to be so evil and horrible, that's okay. They can lie about us, they can trash us all they want. But it's interesting, the two groups that usually go after us are neocons, these big government Republicans, and the far left. Those are the two groups that usually go after us. So what does it tell you about these folks? Because even if I think honorable people can have disagreements on an issue without having to get nasty.
Right.
And you say, well, look, okay, I disagree with you this, but we have so much other things in common. I mean, if you were against an Article 5 and I was in favor and we were colleagues, but you're pro-life, you're pro-second,
right.
keep
You're
arms.
going to let that one issue
I'm not
divide
going
you.
to trash you and say that that you're a drug dealer or you beat your children. I won't do that. It doesn't make any sense. Gary Daniels, I think, is a pretty decent legislator.
Yeah, we disagree on this one issue.
I don't know why he bought into it.
When I testified, I said, I love my senator, but I think he's right on this issue.
I don't think he's getting, I know he's an honorable guy. I would never, what Convention of States does, to people. So that shows you the character of these people. And I've been dealing with these people the last couple of years. I've never been more vilified by their people than I have since I've been a John Birch member by the left, and I've been vilified by these people. It's just, and I can't say all of them, and most of these people are well-intentioned. But when they say and they'll say, well, gee, it's in the Constitution. That means you're a hypocrite. Well, yeah, it's in the Constitution. I'll remind you, it's 2/3. 2/3 of the states have to apply for one, apply, but apply
back
for one.
when there was only 13 states.
Yeah, but 2/3 of the states.
Colonies.
But let's say that I'm against the tax increase. And would you call me unconstitutional because the Congress has the power to raise taxes? So if I'm against a tax increase, does that make me I'm anti-constitutionalist?
Yeah, this one, it gets very ugly. I know we're running out of time. I have a minute left, but there is a proponent in the House member who's running for higher office who wants an Article 5 convention, and I don't. And he actually, I would use the word harassment, kept calling me and bugging me. I want you to meet with me. I want you to meet with me. So he could prove me wrong, and he had all this whole case set up. I'm like, and he didn't like you, boy.
Oh no, I debated him too. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, Frank Egelboot. You don't want to hear that name.
Well, I have to be neutral, and he does have a good voting record. It's just that one issue.
Yeah.
But Hal, we're out of time. But thank you so much for coming on the show.
If people want to learn more about the Birch Society, jbs.org. In New Hampshire, we have a Facebook page, New Hampshire Friends of the John Birch Society.
Not to be confused with the John Birch Society. John Birch is a state rep from Goffstown. He's hilarious. He's a comedian himself, and his friends. I'm one of his friends, so I'm a member of the John Birch Society. The Representative John Birch. And thank you for watching and listening to us chat about Dr. Samuel Blumenfeld. May his memory be eternal.
Amen.
Thank you.